your breakfast and eat hearty. But tonight, we dine in hell!
Well, welcome to the Pure Will Show. My name is William. You know, if you would have told me that our president, Cyril Ramaphosa, went to a country that voluntarily destroyed itself, then praised said country that voluntarily destroyed itself. Not only that, but proceeded to want to do the same things that country did to voluntarily destroy itself, I would tell you that you're speaking absolute garbage, okay? Le odeur. That's garbage in French. But yeah, absolute garbage, all right? Matlakala, udoti, chamors, all right? But then again, we're probably in a parallel universe, so anything can happen. Because this guy, Cyril Ramaphosa, knowing Zimbabwe's history, knowing Zimbabwe's criticism, knowing South Africa's criticisms, all right, decides to go do the following.
Even amidst these challenges, a constant feature of this show has been the commitment by your government to use agriculture as a catalyst for economic growth, as an enabler for sustainable development, and also as a propeller for historical redress. On independence in 1980, the new democratic government of Zimbabwe had to take on a momentous task of dismantling colonial-era patterns of land ownership and agriculture. Agriculture is the cornerstone of Zimbabwe's economy. We congratulate the government of Zimbabwe for the measures it has taken to revive the country's agricultural sector through policy reforms, through investment in irrigation and mechanization, and empowering large and small-scale farmers. Today, I have seen for myself and heard for myself exactly the progress that you have made. I congratulate you on the impressive progress you have made in agriculture, dear President.
Oh no, you're overreacting. Expropriation, you see, zero compensation and no compensation is two different things. There's a difference there. Null compensation, no compensation. There's a difference. That's how they try to explain it, right? The ANC has never taken land, so they'll never do it. You're just bugging out for no reason. See, if they'll never do it, why give yourself a law that allows you to do it? Okay? You see, what some people don't understand is that they're not going to wake up one day and just at a drop of a dime, just do it, right? It's going to be a slow drip, right? He's trying to get people used to it. He's trying to manufacture consent. Or in this particular situation, he's trying to reinforce consent, all right? What Cyril's doing here is he's trying to win over the people who don't follow politics that much, right? And so what he's doing here by going to Zimbabwe and praising them, despite us going in the same direction, and people are probably going to reject it by large, right? But what he's doing here by praising them, right, he's trying to get people who don't really follow politics to go, well, he's praising Zimbabwe, so clearly what they did worked, so it will work here, which is a really, really disgusting way of trying to do politics or trying to run your country. But there's more.
We must therefore work towards a more enabling regulatory environment to further boost this sector. We need increased investment in small and medium farming entities, particularly those that are owned and run by women and by young people in our region. I call on the private sectors in both Zimbabwe and South Africa to use this show to explore avenues for great collaboration that will result in more trade and investment across our borders. I must also confess to being deeply impressed about how you are deploying skills throughout the country, particularly the 6,000 extension officers that are spread throughout the country, going from rural area to rural area into their motorized motorbikes, and a number of them being young women. That I found most impressive.
Now, if you're wondering why Sir simps a lot over here, is showering women with praises so much, right? Whether the ANC and him have known this all along, or whether they just figured that out, is because in South Africa, the largest voting base, the largest voting group are women, okay? In all regions, in all provinces, okay? So that's what you're gonna see going forth, especially when it comes to 2026 and 2029. I remember they've done it before. They've tried to like cater to women, and they try to campaign to women a lot, but they never did it as much as they're doing it right now recently. Okay, it's becoming slightly overbearing. I don't know if anyone's noticed that or not. But more importantly, right, minutes ago, he was just praising these land reform policies that Zimbabwe did, right? And those land reform policies pretty much are investment repellers. They are business repellers, right? The private sector runs away from those kinds of policies. He just done praising them. And this is a way to sort of get people to like the policies because we're going the same route. But then in the same breath, he turns around and says private sector private sector should get involved. No, private sector won't get involved. As long as those policies exist, private sector won't get involved. As long as those policies exist, there's going to be less investment. A business tends to stay away from those kind of policies. So it's a bad move either way. You praise it, you praise those policies, yeah, that's a bad look for you. Then you turn around and say you want the private sector to get involved. That's a bad look, because either way, it's a lose-lose, right? But let's carry on and hear what else he has to say, because it even gets way better.
I must say that Zimbabwe, in the way that you are developing your agriculture, stands out as a shining example for what many other countries in our region, in SADC, and indeed on the continent can learn from. So I came, I saw, I heard, and I must say that I have learned a lot. Thank you for imparting a number of experiences and lessons, which I will take back to South Africa so that we can also be like you.
I think you can stay there if you want to. Like it'll actually be great if you stay there, to be honest.
In as far as empowering our small scale farmers is concerned. Your Excellency, Mr. President, as I conclude, I wish to once again thank you and the people of Zimbabwe for the warm welcome that you have accorded us. You have accorded myself and my delegation the warmest welcome as your neighbors. We share a lot historically, we share a lot socially, and we continue to be good neighbors. May our good neighborliness continue to grow as we seek to prosper our people across our region. I also wish to extend my warmest congratulations to the Zimbabwe Agricultural Society for successfully organizing this edition of the Agricultural Show, and to all the exhibitors that I saw represented here. I must say that the way that you organize your show is a very good representation of a grassroots participation where exhibitors and those who are going to win prizes rise right from the village level, right to the top. And I wish to congratulate those who have succeeded as exhibitors in the various competitions, which rise right at the village level, at the ward level, to the highest level, through provinces and right to national level. That is truly impressive. And thank you for exhibiting this type of experience for us as South Africans. We can learn a lot from you, and certainly this is something that I want to carry with back home to South Africa. And I hope you will not be saying that we are stealing your intellectual property. As good neighbors, allow us to copy something from you so that we too can reach the high level that you have reached. In my view, this show is a resounding success, and I am privileged to participate in the opening of this great show.
How do you know a politician is lying? Okay, 101, right? Notice the repetition of the false grassroots events rising from the bottom up, all right? So what Cyril Ramaphosa is doing here,
Cyril Ramaphosa,
in a sleight of hand kind of way, is trying to promote the national dialogue, right? Because he knows these events are organized by the government, right? And the national dialogue is organized by the government, but he's been trying to convince South African citizens that it's a bottom-up event. It's a people's-led event, right? And people are rejecting it. So what's the next tactic? Although I'm not saying this whole meeting or this whole event was for that, but no, this is an opportunity for him to go to another place, right? And praise that government, right, for having a grassroots village up event, right? Grassroots village up, as to say that, hey, this country is having a grassroots event, right, hosted by government. So our national dialogue is people's led event or bottom up event. So sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Politicians do it all the time. So this whole repetition of grassroots level up, it's nonsense. He's just trying to promote the national dialogue because he knows right now it's a disaster and they're struggling. They're having a hard time trying to convince people that it's a good thing to do because South African citizens are already having a dialogue, and that dialogue is called elections. That dialogue is called content creators and podcasts and all those things. And it's just the government is trying really hard to insert itself into this dialogue, and they're failing at it. So a lot of people know the state of Zimbabwe, and it's not great. And how do you know it's not great? Even the citizens themselves in Zimbabwe don't think it's great, all right? 9 out of 10 citizens say the government is failing on job creation. So there was a poll done in 2024, and they were trying to figure out what's the government's performance. And I think the question was, how well or badly would you say the current government is handling the following matters, or haven't you heard enough to say? So the orange is fairly bad, very bad, and the green is fairly well and very well. And if you see here, creating jobs, 91%, that's bad. Narrowing gaps between rich and poor, 81% bad. Improving living standards of the poor, 80% bad. Keeping prices stable, 78% bad. Fighting corruption, 77% bad. Providing water and sanitation services, 70% bad. Managing the economy, 68% bad. Addressing educational needs, 61% bad. Improving basic health services, 61% bad. They're failing in every metric possible, okay? And but you would think, right, if Zimbabwe is doing so great, then it would be our citizens moving there, right? Because there are citizens going from one country to another. You can guess which is which, right? So you tell me, if Zimbabwe is so great, how is this happening? Okay? Recent migration trends, a surge in numbers. The journey from Zimbabwe to South Africa follows 2 main routes. Okay, the routes, they describe the routes, blah, 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 blah. For those unable to cross legally, The journey often includes dangerous alternatives such as crossing the Limpopo River, which exposes migrants to the threat of drowning, wildlife, and criminal gangs. Smugglers often exploit migrants, charging exorbitant fees that can range from $100 to $300 for an illegal crossing, often with no guarantee of safety or success. For many, the journey ends in Johannesburg or Pretoria, where work opportunities are more abundant. But these cities also host the highest risk of exploitation. People know this. People know this. Why on earth would you go to a country that is doing this and praise the country for doing this? And if you think that's bad, it gets worse. Okay? The economic impact of South Africa and Zimbabwe corridor, remittances as a lifeline. Okay? And it says remittances are a critical aspect of the Zimbabwe-South Africa migrant dynamic. While the migration itself may not result in economic development for Zimbabwe, the remittances sent home by migrants are crucial for the survival of many families. According to the recent data, 53% of Zimbabwean migrants cite informal activities such as vending, 23%, poultry farming, 22%, and running grocery stores, 20%. Now, this is percentage of the migrants moving down as their main source of income, highlighting the precarious nature of economic integration in South Africa. Remittances are primarily used for daily sustenance rather than long-term investments. Right? Even though it's not like large long-term investments, what is happening here is that these people are coming down to South Africa, using up our resources, right? They're pretty much taking from the economy, right? And everything they make, they send it back to their families in the country of origin. That is a strain on the system. Okay, we don't know how many of them are here. And by the way, it's not just Zimbabwe that this is happening. It's other countries as well. Other countries above us as well, or from anywhere else, who are coming here illegally, and they have to take part in informal activities. Because that's the only way to do it without being caught. And our president goes to that country, Zimbabwe, and praises them for this. What you should be doing as a leader is going there, right, and ordering that president to take care of this matter. Instead, he's praising them. He should be going there and telling them, hey, listen, our relationship isn't going to work. Our relationship between the two countries, they're not going to work unless you take care of this matter. You have to take your citizens back, or we're going to deport them and you have to take them. And you have to make sure that this doesn't happen. You have to enforce, well, I guess they can't enforce rules from keeping people from leaving, but we can enforce our rules at the border. And when we turn them back, they have to go to the country of origin, or whatever country they came from crossing our border. So this is a horrible move here by Cyril Ramaphosa.
Cyril Ramaphosa.
That people finally get to see exactly what the plan is. But another reason he's doing this is because he knows the criticism that's surrounding the country, right? I even wrote it down at some point here, and I said, but here's the more disgusting part. Cyril has to praise Zimbabwe because South Africa is heading in the same direction as Zimbabwe. He knows very well that the world now considers South Africa to be Zimbabwe 2.0, the next biggest joke of the planet. So any official criticism of Zimbabwe would be a direct criticism of South Africa, and a massive indictment on the very same policies we are diving headfirst into, which is true. Which is true. He has to praise them, because if he criticizes any of their policies or what Zimbabwe did and any of these things, he knows very well that that's an indictment of our country. And then they would have to change course, but they're not creative enough to create policies that are good for the country. But hey, some people will say, no. Zimbabwe was destroyed by ZANU-PF cult. South Africa doesn't have tribalists and corrupt Shonas, so South Africa will not be like Zimbabwe. And this guy was just highlighting the fact that, hey, the downfall of Zimbabwe started like this. right? South Africa will never be like Zimbabwe. People were just, you know, the cope is amazing. Not sure if this is your wish or you're just misinformed. On the contrary, South Africa, #1 economy, remains an attractive investment destination. As Goodyear exits, another big player invests. Billions in tire manufacturing, creating jobs. Thank you for your attention to this matter. The cope is insane. What's been happening this past week? There's been announcement after announcement after announcement of huge companies, massive companies. We're not talking small companies here now. Right? The small companies are long gone. You're talking about giants now exiting the country. Sure, some of them are exiting multiple countries here and there, but they have their bad policies too. Those countries have their issues too. So I find it weird that some people are like, oh, is it BEE now because they're leaving Germany, or this company is leaving Germany? No, it's because Germany also had an energy crisis at some point. And it's because they have bad policies, and they still have bad policies. Whatever policies that they have. So yeah, it's amazing. It's actually amazing what is happening in this country. I was busy with a video, and I just saw this, and I just saw Cyril
Ramaphosa
making a speech, and I was like, wait, this is odd, right? I saw bits of it yesterday, but I didn't think it was this bad. I think he was just having a small little speech, and then, you know, people are going nuts. But yeah, no, it's way worse than I thought. But anyway, yeah, feel free to comment. Let me know what you guys think. Do you disagree or do you agree? Should he have done this speech? Does it confirm what most of you have been saying, right? Some of you may feel vindicated, whatever. But yeah, I would love to know what you guys think, especially those who disagree. All right, if you agree, love you, but I'd like to hear from those who disagree. And with that said, again, my name is William. If you don't mind dropping a sub, that would be great. And by the way, I'll leave the entire speech in the description below, because I want you guys to watch it. It's frustrating, but I'd like you guys to see it. But anyway, that's it from me. I'll catch you on the flip side as usual. Cheers.